Lisa Tanner is a teacher at Bowes Primary School in North London. She's about to begin a citizenship lesson on global issues, using Comic Relief Red Nose Day resources to teach her Year 4 class. Marguerite Heath is an ex-head teacher and teaching mentor. She currently works for the Citizenship Foundation, designing primary citizenship resources. Picking out good practice, Marguerite is going to sit down with Lisa and provide feedback on the lesson.
Hello Marguerite.
Hi Lisa, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Bowes Primary is a school of 400 pupils. 51% of these speak English as an additional language.
Citizenship is important in a school like ours because we are multi-ethnic, we are multiracial, we do speak over 40 different languages here. But because it's so intrinsic in the way we work here, we don't think about it, it's just the way we run. And that happens in the classroom, it's in the running of the school, it's in the school council, and children are valued here and it doesn't matter what their background is. In a really busy school timetable, it's really difficult to find time to teach one-off lessons like citizenship. So at Bowes, we tend to use a lot of cross-curricular work. For example, in a geography lesson, we might pick up on global citizenship, some RE, some aspects of PSHE, lots of speaking and listening for literacy. And that's how we try and hit all those curriculum areas. And what happens at the end of that? Rachel, do you know what goes on the end of that word? Good boy.
Helping to develop citizenship resources is Comic Relief, who have produced a free pack of lesson ideas and visual resources to be used as a teaching aid in conjunction with Red Nose Day 2007.
The main themes that are explored through all the activities and learning resources, first of all, come through the idea of what makes you happy. And the reason we've used that as a starting point is it's something which 99% of all children can identify with. And it's a really easy way into looking at a lot of different issues. From that you can start to explore things like wants and needs. That really starts to get down to the nitty-gritty of what we all need to be happy. And using that as a starting point, we then move on to look at other children's lives in Africa. Stories of children who are similar ages, so they're having same sort of kind of background, same sort of wishes and dreams for the future, and it's much easier for children to sort of identify with children of a similar age to them as well.
In this citizenship lesson, I'm going to be using some Comic Relief resources. I was given 3 outline guides to lesson plans. I chose the one with the theme, what does everybody need to be happy? Because I found that most straightforward for this year group, Year 4. Today we are looking at, what does everybody need to be happy? Anyone got any ideas to start us off?
Comic Relief may have provided the basis for a citizenship lesson, but for Lisa to engage the children, Marguerite is looking for specific criteria to be met.
What I'd be looking for in any citizenship lesson would be several elements. The first would be that there is action, active learning, that the children will be doing things and actually participating fully.
Maple class, can you try and do a different post-it for each thing that you've put? Once the children have written down or sketched the things that make them happy, I'm going to ask them to talk to a partner and say exactly why that thing makes them happy. For example, if it's going to birthday parties, they need to explain to their partner why that would make them happy. I was interested in that one. Trips. What kind of trips?
I'd want to see the teachers sort of modelling good thinking, modelling reflective thinking, and posing questions and making the children really consider fully their answers or their thoughts.
My favourite thing can be eating, because eating makes me happy because you're not hungry.
Working in twos is a very strong way of teaching because it enables the children to think through what they're actually going to say or the conclusions that they're going to come to before they actually contribute it to the whole class.
What I'd like you to do now in your groups, I'd like you to try and group all of your stickers into categories on your paper. What kind of things might go together? What have you noticed about some of the things you've chosen? Nally, do you mean joy or toy?
Joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
As in happiness?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A teacher teaching Key Stage 2 class needs to be fully aware of the language that they're using and try to introduce citizenship type language. For example, rights, responsibilities, similarities, differences, essential, all of those kind of words, and actually try to get the children using those words.
One of the resources provided by Comic Relief to accompany the lesson is a DVD showing the life of Bayan, a young Ethiopian boy.
What do you think Bayan's life might be like in Ethiopia? Do you think it'll be the same as yours?
No.
Do you think if I asked him to do this activity, he'd write the same things?
No.
You don't think he will?
My name is Bayan and I'm 8 years old. I live in a moon house. There is a cover on our house to protect from the rain. 5 of my family live in my house.
Obviously one of the themes there would be similarities and differences. Then you have the theme about wants and needs, which is a very important theme of citizenship because it leads on to choices and decision making. So those are the 2 main themes, and I suppose what makes us happy, that would be more to do with relationships with other people and thinking about what their needs might be, which again is an essential part of citizenship teaching.
What did you notice about children in his class?
There was about 45 of them.
That's about twice as much as we have. Is that going to be difficult then?
Yeah.
Who else will that be difficult for? Teacher. She's got a lot of stuff to mark, hasn't she?
I'd like to see the children actually feeling and actually living the life in Ethiopia. That's certainly an element I'd like to see. Empathy is very important in citizenship.
What I'm going to ask you to do now is go back to your tables. I want you to look at all the cards that you've made and put them under wants or needs. What's this one? Eating.
Eating.
Oh, books. Books are a need. Interesting. Do we need a family?
Yes.
How do children live then who don't have families? Do they just live? Chelsea's got something to say.
They'd probably starve because they wouldn't have any food.
So children that may live on the streets in certain countries might not have any food. But if you don't have a family, you live with
A foster parent.
with foster parents or with the rest of your family. Is that essential? Do we need that to live?
Not really.
Do we need it to make us emotionally happy? We do. We do need that. It might not be...
As the end of the lesson approaches, Lisa tries the wants and needs activity from a different angle outside.
We've got the needs box and the wants box, and I want you to run to the box that you think matches what I'm going to call out, okay? Skateboarding. Numeracy. Why do we need numeracy?
Because
Cameron,
you wouldn't know anything about maths.
you wouldn't know anything about maths. It would be really hard to get by in life, wouldn't it? Rain.
Just as concentration levels start to diminish, it's lunchtime, giving Marguerite and Lisa time to sit down and talk through how it went.
The quality that you have that makes you a good citizenship teacher is your ability to question and to bring out from the children, their own thoughts.
Cricket is things we want. It's a game, isn't it? So we like playing games, but we don't actually need it to survive. But is it something you need to do as a child?
You actually got them to reason very well. So I think that's your strength as a citizenship teacher. Also, the way that you kept the children involved all the time with their individual thoughts, with their paired discussion, which helps them to sort of consolidate what they're actually thinking and their reasoning, and then develop into a group situation where you're collaborating and negotiating, and then sharing it, communicating it with the class. All that is good citizenship teaching.
Which one was really hard for you to put into a group? Eating. You didn't know where that went. Okay. Was there anything else that was really difficult to put into a group?
Would you think about pulling in a third category? So you have your essential and non-essential and desirable, so that children can see that, it's not always clear cut.
Yeah, I think that's true. Maybe a third category would have been better, or or to leave them out of the box, to leave them off the piece of paper to show that I don't know where they go. Yeah. It's quite a subtle difference, and it's quite difficult for adults to think about. I was struggling with it in the planning.
It is.
Christmas presents.
It's always lovely to have physical going outside and doing it. How did you think that part of it went?
I had really high expectations for that part, and I thought they'd really enjoy it. But given the outcomes, the ideas they had on the pieces of paper, they were quite difficult things to then think about when they were outside. And I think, lost their concentration by the end of the lesson. So maybe if the lesson was shorter and that was more focused and more directed.
I've lost them,
I think there'll be a lot of mileage in going out there again, and perhaps adding that third square and actually bring back this element of choice. So, you know, while certain things will be definite, there are other things where people can hold different views, and that can be discussed some more.
Can we get by in life without friends? No! We could do, but it'd be really tricky. Okay.
How well did you feel that you met your objectives, the objectives of the lesson?
The objective to understand what makes people happy, I think they've pretty much got that, and I think they understand that children in other countries also need the same things to be happy, but maybe they're different.
What perhaps needs to be explored, that you have things that are essential to life, but sometimes the things that make us happy aren't necessarily essential. Things like playing football are not essential. I think the whole thing about happiness perhaps is not always bound up with material things either. That sometimes it's giving to other people and being a good friend and those sort of elements.
Yeah. If I could do some follow-up work, I would probably separate the whole emotional and physical needs and not even mention that, and do that in one completely different lesson.
I think I would too.
I thought that the lesson went quite well, especially the part with Bayan and talking about Ethiopia. And as Marguerite said, there were a lot of things we could have drawn out there, but we didn't have time to do. But maybe they could be revisited in later lessons. I wasn't as pleased with the plenary. I thought going outside would be a really good idea, but I don't think all the ends were tied up, and I don't think there was a definite ending. And I think what I should have done was use some individual self-assessment, so children could have reflected on, did they learn what I wanted them to learn in that lesson.
She did really well. And made excellent use of the resources. But my preference would be to see those materials being used over the course of 3 lessons at the very least, starting with the wants and needs, and for a second lesson going on to what makes us happy, and the third lesson, you know, visiting Ethiopia and looking at similarities and differences. I think that would have been far more effective and led to much deeper learning.
I found Marguerite's advice really useful. She did point out that the lesson was probably bigger than I could deliver in one lesson, and I do agree with that. Maybe you could have got, I agree, 2 or 3 lessons out of that. But she did say about happiness possibly being separated from wants and needs. And maybe that's an issue that you could explore and teach separately, but I think it worked quite well in this lesson.